Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name's Carly, and in these videos, I am giving a window into the process of founding the Rural Transition Academy. Um, this is something that I have been called to do. And I suspect that that will end up being something in the title of this video. So if I've pulled you in with this conversation about being called and feeling that call and answering the call, this video is definitely for you if that resonates as something that maybe you're even feeling yourself. And you may not have any clue about the Rural Transition Academy. Some days I feel like I barely have a clue. I feel like the vision itself is still revealing itself. And that's the thing about the calling is that there is the strong feeling, almost like a magnetic pull that is like gravity, like it has a gravitational force in a certain direction. And again, if you know what I'm talking about, then this message is definitely for you. And if you're not quite sure what I'm talking about and you're like, hey, that's chill, I'm just going to listen, that's fine too. I want this to be a window into my process, not, a PSA about how anybody else needs to do anything. Okay. But I'm describing this call because the feeling is so present, and yet the specifics and the details and all of the how, like the what and the when and the where and the with who and all of like the details. Okay, like those are still so unknown in what it is that I'm doing. And yet I have full faith, like yesterday came out of my mouth, that like, yeah, it hasn't happened yet. So I am like taking a risk, but also I feel like I'm betting on a sure thing. So, like that doesn't mean that I promise that it is a sure thing. It just means that I'm convinced that it is. So take that for whatever it's worth. You know what I mean? Like we have our own sense of resonance and our own like discernment where we get to feel inside of ourselves, is that for me? Is that the right way for me? Is there a different, more optimal way for me? Like, we all get to feel within ourselves what that response is in like any given moment. Like we have that guidance on board all the time to tell us that discernment of like which way to go and what to eat because it's healthy and nutritious and will help you grow stronger, and what to avoid because it's poison and it will kill you. Okay. Like, discernment, judgment, like it's a good thing. It's a healthy thing to have and to be in like self-possession about what it is that you do on a given day. Okay. Like, I feel like it's very interesting. I had a couple of different conversations here recently where people were expressing how like they were overworking or like they were put out by their work, like the expectations or the, like what it is that they had to do. Um, it felt burdensome and it felt like obligation and it felt like obviously uncomfortable. Like they didn't feel good as they were telling me. And I really empathize with that because I absolutely resonate and have called myself many times a recovering workaholic. In many ways, I feel like I understand what addicts are talking about when they say like your addiction is something that you have to work with for the rest of your life. It doesn't like go away. You're not really cured. And I feel that way about my workaholism and my tendency to overfunction. Okay, like that's my go-to strategy is like just work harder, just double down on your effort. And the the thing about strategies and the thing about like anything that we find that we do that we discover is actually not working in our favor and we would like to change that behavior, notice it's not because it's like right or wrong or you should or you shouldn't or that's good or it's bad. It's like, does it work for you? Do you like it like that? And if you like it like that, then that's great. And challenge can build us up and make us grow stronger. Like when we go to the gym and we lift heavy things and we feel weak, but actually it's in that experience that you're growing stronger. So even when you feel weak, you may actually be experiencing growing sensation. Um, and I talked like on a podcast here just recently, I think it came out today, about the difference. And again, we're back at discernment, like discerning the difference inside of yourself in any given moment or situation, the difference between growing pains and dying pains. Because again, like we can exercise and we can tear down the muscle. You're literally breaking it apart with exercise. That's the point. And then you're eating lots of protein to build the muscle back stronger when it repairs itself. So you're damaging it on purpose in these little stints. And that's what exercise is. It's wild. It's like intentional destruction for the sake of growth. And so it's a painful process. It's like it's a transmutation. Like, of course, it's painful. It's like the phoenix can only rise from the ashes. So, what do you think it feels like to burn to ash? Because in my workouts here recently with my personal trainer, it's been challenging, to say the least. And I go with challenging and, growthful type language because of that perspective of like, I am getting stronger in this process. Sometimes things are breaking us down and making us weaker in the process. And so this is why, like there's no blame to cast about. There's no like bad guy in this story. The only bottom line of why I bring all of this up is about discernment, is about like our own agency, our own choice as free adults. I'm assuming I'm not talking to children, all right? Like it's different if you're not to that level of autonomy in your journey, but most likely I'm speaking to adults who are fully free and capable and autonomous and sovereign, and you have agency, you have choice. And so, like, how abundant is it to get to choose what you want to do with yourself? Because here's why, like when it comes to freedom, we can think about it probably in a lot of different ways, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to boil it down into two. We can think about it in two ways. First is freedom from. And a lot of people practice freedom or reach for freedom or try to manifest freedom from that place of freedom from, and freedom from, the work that nags them, freedom from their boss that yells at them, freedom from the obligation of having to get up and go to work at a certain time, like freedom from all of these things that I don't like. Versus the other way to look at freedom is freedom to. Freedom to what? Like, okay, so let's say in this like hypothetical experience, in our imagination, like this again, very abundant tool that's at our disposal all day, every day. Let's use our imagination for just a second and imagine that, like, okay, so you have freedom from everything that is currently a rock in your shoe. All right. None of that is a thing. It all has dissolved. None of it's real in this imaginative scenario. Okay. So now that none of that exists and you're totally free, right? You're free from all of that, totally free, floating in space. You have nothing holding you down. So then what do you do? Right? Like freedom from all of these things so that you can what? Like freedom to what? And I say freedom to answer the call, right? And uh, like I told you guys in the last video, that like so far since this all started unfolding, like back in March, This has been one of the most, if not the most, exhilarating ride of my life, watching this thing unfold itself. Yes, I am creating it. Yes, I am founding Rural Transition Academy, but like many other things that I have founded before, it has a life of its own. Like it has a push. It wants to exist. There is this call. There is this magnetic gravitational pull. And no, the physical details aren't always visible, and I don't exactly know when or how or who or what, like the details are fuzzy. So there's like a lot of physical unknowns floating around. But the call is certain. And that's where like the word faith comes to mind. And I was thinking this morning about the difference between faith and blind faith, because I feel like real faith, like true faith, unqualified faith, like it performs as certainty. Like because you can feel it. You can feel the pull of it because it's real. You can see it in your imagination because it's real, because it already exists. Maybe not in this right now moment, in this exact what is happening. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't already exist, that it's not inevitable, is the word that has really surfaced throughout this year. I think I actually came across it first last year. Although, no, irreplaceable was the word that came last year, and inevitable is the word that came this year. And so, yeah, the purpose of these conversations is to open up a window into this world, this experience of founding Rural Transition Academy, and to make myself a video diary. That's really fun for me, personally, and yeah, to get the juices flowing around dreaming bigger. Dream bigger is a mantra that has, I will say, taunted me for years. Like literally, like I'm gonna say I started like writing dream bigger at the beginning of every day, like on my journal entry, um, probably like 2022-ish. 21, 22 in there somewhere. So, like at whatever time you're watching this, however many years that's been, I'm sure it's still going on because every time I come up with something, this this dream bigger, like we are infinite creators. Like I live in a reality where I believe wholeheartedly, like I have this like knowing that performs as certainty that I am creating my reality. And so if something is happening in my reality, it's because on some level, either consciously or unconsciously inside of me, I've put this thing into my reality for a useful purpose. That's the world that I live in, is that if it's in front of me, if it's interacting with me, if it's engaging with me in any way, I've created it for myself. And it has a reason, and it has a very valuable reason for being there. And the quicker I can accept that there's a valuable reason for it being there, the quicker I can get from dying pains to growing pains. Because sometimes in this journey of answering the call, it takes you exactly where you don't want to go. Okay. And I think that's a good segue into I want to answer a few questions. I've posed them to myself for the benefit of having something to talk about. Gathering up some spoonfuls of like this universe that I have in my inner world. The first question I want to answer is the thing that didn't work out the way you thought it would recently. What is that? And I did not get the fellowship, the first one. And remember, there are two. There's another one that I'm still applying for. The application for that next one is due in August, and we'll find out at the end of the year. But I applied for one back in April, and I just found out here like a week ago that I did not get it. And what didn't go the way you thought it would. And like I really thought that I was going to get that. Like I almost like I don't like to hide like the real experience of things. I don't see the point in that. I think it's a lot more valuable and useful to be real about what is and what was. And even though these emotions didn't last very long, especially not compared to how long they would have lasted if it had happened to me like 10 years ago, we live and we learn and we grow and etc. Um, but like my first reaction when I saw the email that like I didn't get it, I was like shocked. Like I was legitimately shocked. And then I was disappointed. And then I felt embarrassed, like I had done a belly flop at the pool. Like that was the visual that came was like it's summertime and I'm like 10 and I did a belly flop and not only am I in physical pain, but all the kids saw and they're all laughing at me. Like, I was like, my cheeks were hot, and like I'm sitting there completely by myself, just imagining that other people are gonna like kind of point and laugh that, like, oh, you tried and you didn't get it. And like, so that was really interesting, that like that's where my inner world went to was like shock, disappointment, embarrassment, like all pretty quickly. Like within a minute, I've made it all the way into my belly flop stage. And from there, I have a pretty available inner parent inside of me. Like I also have like 50,000 inner children, but I have a pretty decent inner parent who is on the job all the time, pretty much, as far as Carly's emotions are concerned. And so my inner parent, shows up pretty quickly to the scene of this like ego bruise, I'm gonna say, like I got rejected. I didn't get it. I asked for it and they said no. They picked, I think, 6 people, and I was not one of them. And so that means they chose others and not me. And so when I say sometimes answering the call takes you right where you don't want to go, like feeling rejected is just it's not my favorite, and I feel like it's one of those human conditions that like biologically we evolved and we survived because we worked together in tribes, and so our ability to keep ourselves connected to the tribe is essentially like at the root of our survival. So like our appetite for approval and connection and status and like security inside the tribe, like it's just doesn't it make perfect sense that you don't like to be rejected? Like, doesn't that make sense? Like, of course you don't like it. Um, and, so my inner parent's right there with that. Like, it makes sense. It makes sense that you feel embarrassed, and I know your belly stings. And, you know, but like, and this was like, you know, a minute, couple minutes, like after I had the news and my inner parent talking to me, saying look at the first reaction you had. What was it? I'm like, shock. Why was that? Because I was expecting to get it. I really thought I was going to get it. Why was that? How could they not want they not want me? Of course they'll want me. Everyone would want me. Like it was so clear that like I was so confident in what I bring to the table, in the value of what I offer. Like, of course, anyone presented with the offer or the option to like work with, like do my project or whatever, like of course they would say yes. Like, of course they would. Like I was like so bought in to, of course they're gonna say yes, that when I saw the no, I was shocked. Okay. And so my inner parent is like, okay, so that's where we're going to leave this for right now. Is that number one, you tried, like you put yourself out there and you tried. Like you took a swing. You said they're probably going to want to give me the money to do this thing because it's a good thing. So, like, you put it forward because you believed in it, because you were confident in it. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job making yourself available to be judged, Like, kudos, because not everybody would have taken that step. And number two, you were so bought in on like and confident in the value of your own work that you literally like it just didn't even cross your mind that they're gonna say no. Like, look at that, what you have. Like, you have you on your side. And as you know, like this is what you're telling me, like, and as you think you're pretty valuable. Okay. So, like, you're on your side. Look at that. Yes, they said no, and we're going to come back to that. But, like, look at who's on your side. You are. And I was just like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. And that was around noon. And I went on the rest of my day and I didn't even think about it. And then I woke up the next morning and that was like one of the first things there was like, I didn't get that. And I I don't tolerate a tangle in my energy for very long. Like if there's a rock in my shoe, I'm not going to just walk around on it. I'm going to take a second and go sit on a log and take my shoe off and try to dump it out and see if I can get the rock out of there. Oh, look, there it came out and put the shoe back on and then carry on with your day. Now rock-free shoes. Okay. So like I'm a big believer in get the rock out of your shoe. So like when there's a tangle in my energy, I am quicker and quicker as I go at turning into what is tangled up here? Like what is it that's really wrong? That like why are you so bummed out about this? And so like journaling into and like clarity coming out of what was it that was actually tangled up. And by the time I was done with it, I literally saw how being rejected from that was ideal and how the fellowship experience itself had already given me way more, like way more than $20,000 worth of value because of the invitation, like back in March when all of this started happening, like I knew about this fellowship and that I wanted to apply, and I had a loose idea of what it was that I was trying to get together for my proposed research. And then somebody called me a transition coach, like was writing a bio about me and called me a transition coach. And I was like, I kind of am. That's really interesting. I like that. That resonates. And that opened up this entire like identity shift, identity evolution of how I see myself, which brought that research into clear view. And I submitted that application. And once I had that like clarity around not the research part of it wasn't the clarity that was so valuable, the clarity around like, who am I? And how do I see myself? And what is this pull? What is this call that I am answering? And getting really clear on that connection where it doesn't have details, but it has certainty, if that's possible. If you know, you know. Like if you've ever felt the call, if a pull towards anything and you answered it and like even better than you could have imagined kind of vibes is what ends up flowing from it. Um, yeah, the range has started. And it makes me wonder if you can hear it on the microphone. I don't know if you can, but we're going to just go with it. Okay. We're going to pretend like it's not happening and go with it anyway. And I'm going to answer some more questions. Okay. I pulled out of this deck that's called Powerful Questions, and it's a coaching tool. And I was drawn to it today to pull out a few, and I haven't looked at them yet because I like to be surprised. Because if I see it ahead of time, I'll overthink it. Okay. So we're gonna let the power of surprise do its job here. Okay, what might help look like? Oh, I love that question. Yesterday, I used the words my team for the first time. It just like came out of my mouth because I'm like, yeah, my team is like blah blah blah. Uh, yeah. Like I described it yesterday as like a game of Foursquare. Okay. And like I didn't ever really play Foursquare as a child, but I definitely saw it happening on the playground and I saw other people playing it. And there's something very resonant about the game of Foursquare as far as like the way that I want to work with my team. I also introduced them yesterday to my approach that I'm calling two brains, where nobody works on anything by themselves, and that the first brain takes the lead on something and sends it to the second brain. The second brain reacts to it and sends a reaction reflection back to the first brain, and they go back and forth on an iteration. And once both people are proud of what has been created, then they send it to the third brain. So like basically the public, the deliverable, the client who asked for it, like whatever it is, but like two brains going back and forth and like that game of Foursquare where like we're not all four just standing there holding our own ball. We're literally sharing a ball and we're bouncing it back and forth. And every time somebody touches it and it comes back to me, it's a little bit different than the last time I held it. And there's something so engaging and rich and fertile about that kind of collaboration and like back and forth, bouncing back and forth that feels so energizing to me. One of the developments that's happened recently was that there's been an idea. It's not established yet, but there's been an idea of an office space that could be free and available to use like anytime. And so that idea and that reality of like maybe this office space has really accelerated my visions of like me and the team working in like co-working in the same physical space and made me realize that like it has literally been years since I have been co-located with coworkers. Like probably the last time was Cecil K's, and that's a little bit different. I feel like for reasons that aren't relevant here, but like the last time I was in an office, like the last time I had like a job was 10 years ago, you know? So like the thought of having an office space where I could be there with my people and like we're all working towards the same thing and like we all get to be there like right there together. Oh my gosh, like that felt it feels so freaking good. And the idea of help and having a second brain and somebody to bounce things back and forth with, and like thinking partners and creative partners. And, we're all learning in different directions and teaching each other what we learned. And like we're all making each other smarter. Um, yeah, I get very, very passionate about the team element of it. And it comes back to kind of like the foundation of not even necessarily Rural Transition Academy, but more like my lifestyle at this point, which is, not a fixed thing. It's always evolving. But basically, like life should be worth living. Like life should be enjoyed and we should be having a good time, like call me crazy, but I like fun. And so honestly, like the team that I'm building has largely been born out of what would make it more fun is to have other people in these other three squares. We could bounce these balls back and forth. And we could, use four balls, but it's not like we're all standing there holding them. We are constantly like shifting them around and like bouncing them around. And so, yeah, I get really excited at the co-creation and the collaboration part of it. What part is not yet clear? Well, let's see. The when, that's not yet clear. Um, the how on the money, like how is the money going to flow in, is not fully established. Remember, the calling has certainty and inevitability. So, like, the money is energetically present, but like, which door is it actually going to pop out of? I have no idea. Um, and because of that, because the money, isn't popping out of a door just yet, the timeline, the when is kind of dependent on that. Um, the where is starting to firm up with the office space, but like that's still a work in progress. Um, the with who part, the team is growing. Okay, we're up to 3 people now, including myself, and I want 4. I want the core 4 that are going to start, and then we'll build out teams under each of us, is my thinking now, and that could change. We'll see what actually ends up unfolding. But this fourth person, I don't know yet who that is. So that's still very unclear. But again, the calling has certainty because this person, while I do not physically know who this role is going to be filled by, I energetically, they bring these things to the table. They're this piece and this piece and this piece, and they have a background like this, and they're really passionate about this. And like, those are the pieces that like energetically, there's already a resonance of like who that person actually is. Um, but like 3D details of like their name and their phone number and how to get a hold of them, like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. To be determined. I call it fun for another day. Okay. Like we can't have all of our fun for our whole life in one day. We're going to like do a little today and then there'll be some more tomorrow. What is important about that? That's really interesting coming off of we're not going to have all of our fun today. We're going to have some today and then we're going to have some more tomorrow. What is important about that is that this is like a long job. Okay. Like the undertaking that I have, like this calling that I'm devoted to is reversing the erosion of rural food access, which means turning that trend, turning that gigantic ship around a 180 and send it in the other direction. And so I expect that we're talking about decades of work. It's gonna take to like actually make that happen. Okay. But again, like we're unstoppable as long as we don't stop. And how do we make sure that we keep going for a really, really long time, like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years? Like, how do we make sure that we keep going? Why do bees go look for honey? Like, or pollen, like, why do bees go look for pollen? Like, because it's nice and they like it, like it's not hard. We're not having to do a PA, like a public relations campaign around pollen to get bees to buy into they should go look for the pollen. Like, no, they like it. It's sweet. It's enjoyable. They seek it out on purpose and they've built like their whole lives around seeking out the pollen on purpose and turning it into something that then like the world has said like, wow, like what you turn that into, the honey, that's really valuable, especially when it's local honey, because blah, blah, blah. Like now it's worth even more money. And like that's really valuable. Wait, how'd you do that? Like, did you work really hard? Did you hustle and grind? No. I went every day and I got some pollen and I licked it up because it's sweet and it tastes like yummy. And it was really fun because I got to play Foursquare with my friends every day. And like before you know it, 10 years have flown by and you've made the 1% gain, the 1% gain, the 1% gain every day for a decade. Like, dude, you're somewhere unrecognizable. So the what's important about that is the longevity and the sustainability of the work itself. As far as like, do we have a vehicle that is even capable of reversing the erosion of rural food access? Maybe the vehicle is probably capable. Like I'm pretty certain that I've got a solid 30, 40 years left in me of work. Okay, like that seems realistic. Probably more than that, hopefully. But let's say we start with this. Okay, let's call the next 30 years, the next chapter, we're reversing the erosion of rural food access. Like the only way that we're going to do that for 30 years and apply ourselves and apply ourselves and apply ourselves and climb and climb and climb and climb and climb is because we love to climb, like we love to lick pollen. Like that's the whole magical secret is that we're having a really good time over here, So yeah, what's important about that is that it ends up being like the fuel and the infinitely renewable fuel source that it is to really enjoy what it is that you're doing. And that brings me to the little URL that I set for the channel here is at Carly Shaped Vibes. And Carly Shaped is something that started to emerge over the last couple years, and it grew out of my journey on authenticity and like finding, rediscovering how to just be, how to just be what I am instead of putting on any one of the closet full of masks that I have that I could put on to do my little manipulations and get my way on purpose because I know how to, be so that I can be the chameleon and the shapeshifter and like be what it needs to be to like make space for this like you're doing gymnastics in your sense of self, okay? And this has been my life mostly. And these last couple again, in 2021, I did my daily mantra that I wrote at the top of my journal for 2021 was the year of speaking truth. I felt like I was walking on eggshells in every single one of my relationships, and I wanted to freaking scream. I wanted to burn it all down. I'm like, okay, we need to do something different here. And I realized that that is actually a really funny takeaway that I haven't revisited in a long time. And it's always cracked me up because when I started the year of speaking truth, I was like gung ho. I was so into it. I had permission. I was gonna tell everyone everything. I wasn't gonna say anything that wasn't true and I wasn't gonna sugarcoat it. And I'm ready. I'm gonna just say it like it is. And it was fascinating and very humbling to come to the realization that once again, I am the common denominator in my instances, my experiences with other people. Um, because after I gave myself permission, like I didn't need to worry about like if that hurt their feelings, that's okay. Like that's not something that I'm going to worry about. I'm going to be honest. That's what I'm going to do. And with that permission on board, I still couldn't do it. And that's when I realized that speaking my truth was it like had nothing to do with other people. It had everything to do with me and my ability to say what was real. And that's when I started to recognize within myself like how often I was masking, how often I was making a pleasant face at someone just because like I want to make them feel comfortable. And like on the surface, that sounds so helpful and kind and like generous and considerate and like virtuous almost that you would like go out of your way to make somebody else feel comfortable. But like when you start scratching the surface under why are we doing that? Like why are we trying to manage other people's comfort? Dude, it's just a matter of time before it walks back to like, I need them comfortable so I can be comfortable. Like I'm trying to feel a certain way by making them feel a certain way. And once they feel a certain way, then I can mirror their feeling back to them. And so I have to control this other person and I have to make them feel something so that I can be where I want to be. And the year of speaking truth really started to like untangle all of that and started my journey of authenticity and figuring out how to just be a thing, like just be what it is, like what is real. And to stop trying to get things from other people. And, you know, it may seem weird to admit all of this. That's like one of the things about practicing authenticity and vulnerability is that you really never know what's going to come out. Okay, because there's a lot going on in there that like maybe you don't even know about, right? Most of our brain exists in our unconscious. So like I didn't plan to share all of this, but what's important about that is again the honesty and the realness of what even is the goal of the call? Like when we feel the call and we feel that pull and we feel the undeniability of answering it, we feel its inevitability, its gravitational pull. Like, what's the point? Like, what is the useful purpose of being called? Like, why is this happening? What's it for? And, you know, in my case, founding Rural Transition Academy and feeling called to reverse the erosion of rural food access, you know, as far as what is the usefulness of it, I like, I can't speak to the 30-year arc of its usefulness, okay? I can only speak to the last like 6 months. And, I started in March with the identity transformation. I submitted the first fellowship application, and that gave me the confidence and clarity I needed to conceive of my proposal for the the second fellowship application, which is what congealed into Rural Transition Academy, was because of that second fellowship application. So, this is what I mean by these fellowships have already given me way more value than just the money that they're promising to some. Like, they're giving this value to everyone, and it's like so friggin' abundant to be able to entertain the possibility of getting that money and the fuel that that is for the imagination and for us to step forward and say out loud, make noise about what it is that you believe in, what it is that you stand for, what it is that you think is possible and could be done differently if we were to focus on it for long enough. Um, it's an invitation. And both of these fellowships this year have helped me to do all of that, to step forward and get clear and set my sights on something that feels like a match to me, like the size and the magnitude of reversing the erosion of rural food access. I mean, I do intend to look locally, like within Kansas, within the United States, but like I also understand that the issues as far as why rural food access is eroding around the world, like it's maybe not exactly identical country to country, but there are many countries in the world that are basically the same set of factors are eroding rural food access in their country, same as it is in ours. And once we figure it out for those types of countries, I have no doubt that we can work on other types of like on a long enough time horizon, like anything is possible. Okay. And these fellowships basically served as like permission to dream and permission to take something up and claim it and decide that that's worth my time and attention. Like that's literally all I did was like, I'm gonna do this because I can feel the call, I can feel the resonance, I can feel that energetic certainty, even though I have no details about like the how and the when and the what and the where and the who and all the things. I've been really reflecting on that quote. It might even be in the Bible. I'm not 100% sure. I'm certainly not a Bible scholar. But I've heard it many times on different things where God doesn't call the qualified, God qualifies the called. And that brings me back to like, the sensation of not getting the fellowship and the first one, and how qualifying it was to go through that application process, regardless of the outcome, right? Like, again, like, what is the purpose of the call? Like, as I have decided, like, literally, that's all it is. Like, as I made the decision to answer the call, because I am fully in my self possession, able to decide what it is that I do with my life and what I don't do with my life. Our life is our most valuable asset. Our time is our most valuable, most precious gift. That's like the reason we're here, is to have time in the physical. And so I get to decide what I do with it. And I've devoted it to something that feels like it's Carly shaped. And in order to be a match to something that large, like, I think this is also where, sometimes like we can get wobbly and like fall off of answering the call, is where we start walking forward and answering it. And then we feel like small, like I'm too small. Like I'm down here and this thing is all the way up here. And so then, like, the unconscious instinct can be to want to like pull this down. Like, if this would come down here, then I wouldn't feel small. And I don't like to feel small. Again, I feel like that's a human thing. Like, I don't like to feel like overpowered or like outmatched, Like, I don't want to feel like I'm getting the crap kicked out of me, you know? And the thing about it is, and as far as like, what is the purpose of the call? It's like, what if you're being presented with this thing that's all the way up here because you're actually on the verge of a growth spurt and you're about to shoot up there? And that doesn't mean that that's just going to happen per se. It might mean that you choose to do things differently, and that's what sparks a growth spurt. Like, I went to the lake one morning. I was feeling very rich, and I have a place at the lake where, like, it's just like a big grass bank, and there's not many trees there, and it like goes right down to the water. And I like to walk there, and I like to pretend, literally, like a child. I like to pretend that this is my yard, that this is like my backyard, and it's like on this lake, and I'm walking like shoes off in the grass. Like, this is my grass, this is my backyard, this is where I live. And that this is my life, this is my now moment, this is my reality. And I was walking there and I stopped and I did these couple of different hypnotism videos, where it was like introducing you to your millionaire self, like the version of yourself in the future that is a millionaire. And I don't necessarily resonate with the word millionaire, but I do resonate with the version of myself who basically has more money than she cares about, like that she needs, then like it's coming in so fast that like you can't deploy it fast enough, kind of thing. I resonate with like that level of flow. Okay, so like that version of myself that lives in that life where like the money is just like piling up and she's getting it out the door as fast as she can, like deploying it to help in whatever ways that she can think of that are fun. And so I met that version of me. And basically, in these hypnotisms, the question was, look at that version of you, look at their life, and how do they live like on a daily basis that's different from how you live? Like, what is it in their daily routine that is not going on in your current reality. Like, and that's one example. There may be multiple things, but like that one difference, let's say, like my real example was I'm like, well, number one, she's got a private chef. That's like the one rich person thing she did with her money was that she has somebody who cooks food for her. But the other thing is that she has a personal trainer and she works out 3 days a week. And I'm sitting there like, I certainly don't have a personal chef. And I don't think I've worked out in like 13 years. So, yeah, that's definitely different. And so there's an example. Like she works out 3 days a week. I'm a couch potato. All right. Like full, plain, simple, full stop. So there's a difference, like that no exercise routine and pattern, that's part of this version of me and that lifestyle. And that version of me has a trajectory into the future. And this version of me that has this financial overflow, let's just say, she works out 3 days a week. And so, on the trajectory into the future where I become her, at some point, there will be a moment where I hire a personal trainer and we start working out. Maybe 1 day a week, maybe 3 days a week. I don't know. But like there will be a moment when that starts. And if it doesn't ever start, then I'm not ever going to get there because that's how she lives. And so reverse engineer back to like, look at your future self and the habits that they possess. And what are those habits that, not even just all of them, but like even just one of them. And so that thought of working out 3 days a week, I was like, damn, like good for her, like good for her. Cause I don't know. I don't know about that. Like I'm full blown couch potato at this point. And I'm like, I don't know about that. And so don't think about it, whatever. And then the next day, I was like, I wonder I wonder how hard it would be to find a personal trainer. And I wonder if I could just find one or a couple and get a sense of like, how much does it cost? Is it like $100 a session? Is it like $50 a session? I honestly have no idea what it costs to work out with a personal trainer. And so I went on Facebook and I just searched for personal trainer near me. And this this profile came up at the very top and there was like almost nothing in the search results, like nothing. Like I expected to just see like a flood of personal trainers and there was like this one profile, a couple other things and I was like, that's so underwhelming. Okay, never mind, whatever. Next day, it's Monday now. I'm like, I really want to just see. Okay. So I go back on Facebook and I search for personal trainers near me, and that same profile pops up, and I message her and tell her, like, I'm looking for somebody. I want to work out in person with this person a couple times a week. Like, just curious how that works and what you charge, that sort of thing. And she's like, well, I'm in Florida, so I don't think it would work out to do it in person, but I can train you over Zoom. It would work like this. I charge $30 a session. And so I told her, I'm like, yes, I want to do the consultation. So we did the consultation a couple days later, and that following weekend. So this is now like 8 days after the day where I was feeling rich, and I went to the lake and I walked on my grass and I did the hypnotism thing where I met my millionaire self, and she's got a personal trainer and a like private chef. And that led me down this road of like exploring what would it look like to have a personal trainer. And so yeah, I started working out with her on June 21st. And so it's been like 6 weeks or whatever. And like it blows my mind how fast change happens and how easy it is when it starts from the identity level. Like it wasn't a choice. Like I think I look bad or like I'm too weak and I'm, bad in some way. And so I should fix that and get a personal trainer to help me fix it. Like it was nothing like that. It was like I'm peeping my millionaire self and she works out 3 days a week and she's a freaking badass. Okay. She's like a powerhouse and she's got muscles and she is just like, on her like comfortable in her skin and like light on her feet and agile and like has all this energy and mental clarity from like all of the exercise hormones or chemicals or whatever's going on in there. Yeah, like she is using exercise to build her capacity. She's leveraging exercise to give herself more energy so that she can bring even more of like this universe into the physical. Like her bandwidth is widening and she can move more from non-physical into physical as she has more energy to do that. And that has been exactly the experience. Like I told my trainer, like within a few weeks, I was like, I feel like there's more time in the day. Like I feel like because we work out like right there around 4 or 5 o'clock usually. And so by the time we get done, I've still got all evening. Where before it was like I would kind of finish working towards the end of the day or maybe even earlier than that and just kind of like chill and veg and go full potato mode on my bed or whatever. And you just kind of like zone out for the last, little bit of the day. And so now that like I work out with her and then I have like all this energy for the last like few hours to meal prep or like actually do more work or get back on like what it is that I'm doing or like, on and on and on with like there is more happening because I have more energy because I'm investing these 3 hours a week. It's not even 3 hours, it's a 45-minute session, 3 times a week, investing that time. And it has been so easy to adopt this new pattern because I saw my future self living it. Like she decided that this was something that she wanted to commit herself to for the rest of her life because she understood how valuable it was. And I didn't fully know just how much it was going to help me when I chose to start. But now that I'm even 6 weeks into it, I'm like, what I told my trainer most recently in our session a couple days ago was, God damn, like I wish I would have started this 5 years sooner, But she's like, you're doing something about it now. Thanks. She's very encouraging. She tells me all the time. She's very proud of me. And that mental strength is probably like the biggest, quickest gain that I've gotten out of it so far. Although I will say, like, I'm starting to see muscles where there did not used to be muscles, and that's very exciting to see my body actually changing. But the mental strength was there like in the first week of it's hard. I'm doing it anyway, and I am proud of myself. And like I feel accomplished. Like I did something that took real sweat, like real effort, and I can barely walk the next day, like for a week. But dude, like by the second week, third week, like I felt strong in places that I felt weak 2 weeks ago. And like that growth has been giving me a place to like really ground the professional growth that has been going on alongside of that, where I am stepping outside of my comfort zone, breaking down the muscle of my comfort zone repeatedly to build it back into a bigger form, and then doing it again and doing it again. So, yeah, challenging, growing pains, but oh my God, like alive, exhilarated, and alive. Okay. Like we have such a short time on this planet, and we are not guaranteed any of it, and we're not entitled to any of it. And so, what we choose to do with our days, with our hours, with our minutes, like it's up to us. And I hope that you're using yours to answer whatever it is that's calling you. But really, that's none of my business. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you that I'm going to keep answering what's calling to me, and I'm going to keep embracing the unclear parts, letting them be as clear as they're ready to be, letting them reveal themselves in perfect timing. There is so much protection in not being able to see all of the details. Like my higher self tells me all the time, like, be glad you can't see what's coming. Not because it's bad, but because it's so good and so big that it would actually like freak you out if you could see like what the future truly holds for you. So the details being unclear is not a problem. And that's why it's even more important to reconnect as often as we need to with what it is that's calling us. Like that why, that fuel of like, where did this start in the first place? Why am I even doing this to begin with? And, to not get dragged down in, I'm going to say like our conditioning, our programming, the should, like this is just how it is. Like I should do that. Like I've got to do that, well, because I have to. It's like, do you though? Like, are you sure? Maybe you do. And maybe you don't, maybe you're procrastinating it because you don't actually need to do it. Maybe it's like so hard, it makes you want to give up because you don't actually have to do it. You should just cut that part off. And it's like, oh, but I can't because this is blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, you're the creator, you're the infinite creator. And if you want it to be that way, it is literally none of my business. And I honestly, you know, I want to be one who is so comfortable inside my own sovereignty that I would never dream of taking someone else's away from theirs. Like, I don't need you to be comfortable so that I can be comfortable. I don't need you to be having fun so I can have fun. Like that's the part that is like true freedom is like I get to find whatever radio station on the dial feels best to me, and so do you. So until next time, I hope that you will take really, really good care of the one that you are, and so will I.